What's going on, YouTube? Diabolic Hollow here, and welcome back to the third episode of the H.H.A. Extra Credit Sidebar Podcast, whatever the fuck this is. Joined here by my co-host, Maktir. You heard him. What's up? Say what's up again,
What up? What's going on?
We are back with some more WandaVision.
Oh, yeah.
And we took a week off because episode 4 was pretty good, and we learned a lot of information that we didn't know in the previous thing, but we decided to make a big decision and combine our episode 4 and 5 review into this week's episode.
Hooray.
More content, pretty much. So both of those episodes were really good. And we are finally learning a whole lot more about what the actual hell is going on.
Yep. So now at this point we do know. So I think at the end of episode 4, it pretty much, and during it it was pretty much just them going through the previous episodes, and them just kind of figuring out it's a sitcom.
Yeah. It was giving the outside perspective of, not only did it give us what was her name, Monica. Yeah, Monica's which I thought was really cool, and I did want to mention it because they gave a different side of things from after Hulk re-snapped everyone back together in Endgame, because we saw part of it in Spider-Man 3. Where, they were all talking about coming back and after the snap and blah, 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 blah. But in episode 4 of WandaVision, it kind of gave a more grounded level of what actually happened the moment everyone came back from being dust. And it was just it was crazy.
Yeah, panic. People, even Monica, she was, I think, it was portraying that when she got snapped, she took a nap in a hospital waiting chair, waiting for her mom to get out of surgery or some shit like that. She wakes up not knowing that 5 years had gone by. She's freaking the fuck out. She's like, "Where's my mom?" And the nurse tells her, your mom's been dead for 3 years. Sorry. And so...
Yeah, and that's a fucked up thing to learn as soon as you come back into existence. It's what? You not only do you miss 5 years of the world going by,
yeah,
but
imagine, yeah,
Jesus.
I can't even. So that shit, I agree with you. I think that shit was interesting, and it did a really good job of kind of capturing the panic and confusion of, because if you think about it, 5 years go by, you pretty much accept that person is dead. But, so, the hospital, in this one scene, it was really just kind of capturing a hospital, and all the personnel freaking the F out, because, they're trained to deal with people when they die, but not when they come back to life in mass. So,
yeah, and it kind of makes you think. It's thinking about the average person, because Thanos wiped out half of all of humanity with the snap, the first snap. So it's just damn, you just got to think about it. There's just regular people, if we were in the MCU, we probably could have been snapped, and it's just 5 years later, it's we come back, and it's so much things are different,
fucking 13 or 14 would be out, and it's what? The 10 just came out. Or some shit like that, huh?
The Xbox Box Series 1X Series Duke Ellington Scorpio Rose Edition or some shit. And then it's the PS11 or something. And you're like, what? But yeah, that was crazy. And then further on into episode 4, we learned it was kind of the outside perspective of the first 3 episodes that were going on of the Agents of S.W.O.R.D., which we also found out that we were kind of correct in a previous episode, talking about how they kind of deal with extraterrestrial threats. And they mentioned that quite a bit in episode 4 about Monica wanting to go back into space and everything and do more missions.
Yeah,
But, the new director grounded her and everything, which I'm a little sketch on this director, to be honest. I don't fully think he's a good guy.
He definitely comes off with like he has his own kind of agenda kind of deal. And keep in mind, he did say that like when she was grounded, it was her because her mother was the director before, and it was actually her orders before she died that she be grounded or something along those lines. But I mean, on that same token, you're taking that from the word of mouth of this new director. So I don't know, but no, I agree. He definitely he's a little sus. He's a little sus for sure. And I did think it was interesting that so pretty much from what I gathered, episode 4, just like you said, it was like a recap of the outside perspective. It was pretty much them just giving the like explanations as to like every time you and me, when we were reviewing the first 3 episodes, we would talk about each individual like weird thing that happened. I was like, what the fuck? But in episode 4, it kind of explained what each of those events were, like the helicopter flying in randomly that was for some reason colored in when everything else was black and white. The beekeeper was actually a sword agent coming in trying to communicate with Wanda. And the radio was an attempt at, I think his name is Jimmy, the FBI agent, trying to communicate with Wanda through a radio frequency. So,
which also was really cool that they brought Jimmy Woo, who was from, I think it was like the second Ant-Man movie.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think he was in that one.
Yeah, because they brought him in because he was Scott's parole officer, I think.
I think you're right. I think he was.
Yeah. And then they brought Darcy back from Thor, which was really cool because
wasn't Darcy part of the original crew from
Yes,
Thor?
Yeah, she was an intern
movie?
actually in the Thor movies, and now she's a doctor, which is really cool and really nice consistency of the story, of her story at least.
Yeah, it's nice that they're kind of bringing back Phase 1. The Jimmy was a Phase 3, but like even just
it just solidifies the whole
character.
Connecting. Everything is connected. Everything, it's one big universe. Everything. Like they can just bring people in and out from movies and shows and to different movies and shows.
It is nice to see some refreshing faces that are actually already established characters instead of having to bring in a completely new character and like start caring about them and like them have to develop them throughout a new show when most of these characters are pretty much already developed, even though they might not have had like huge story arcs. A little bit about them. And it's it gives them a chance to kind of expand their character development as well. So I thought that was really cool. But I don't know. I mean, at the end of 4, it kind of answered the questions as to what all those weird things were that we were seeing in the previous 3 episodes.
Right. Yeah, all the little nuances and stuff.
Yeah, but it didn't really explain like what in the bigger picture was going on.
Right, because 4 pretty much ended where 3 did.
Exactly.
It just gave us context to episodes 1 through 3.
It was,
which was sorely needed.
For sure. I feel like that if they kept dragging it out with doing the sitcom thing, it probably would have just gotten old. So,
I think it's gonna keep going. I mean, they're gonna eventually run out of decades because episode 6 should be 90s theme if we're going by each decade.
Yeah, I think
but I don't know what they're gonna do once we hit 2000s.
Yeah, right. No, I think I just meant like if they kept doing the sitcom stuff without any context, like as if it was an actual sitcom.
Yeah.
No, but I agree. I mean, I do like that they're gonna keep going on with the show because obviously that's Wanda's little world that she made, and so, but.
Yeah, that was pretty much episode 4. We just got basically context and a lot of information that we really needed. And people complained, and I saw so many people complaining when like episode 4 and 3 were coming out. that they were just like, oh, it's so slow, like we don't know anything.
That's
And
the
it's like,
point.
you guys got to realize, like, people are just spoiled by binge watching
Oh,
and
yeah.
like just having a whole season of something just dropped into instantaneously on its release date. So they just watch everything in like a day or two, and they're like, oh, that was great, like when's more? It's like, no, this is how real TV shows
Yeah.
work. You get one new episode a week, lucky if that, really, sometimes. But so I don't mind waiting a week for an episode because I feel like
Yeah.
it drums more hype. People talk about it, people I know that watch WandaVision, like all my friends, they, like me and you, we speculate. We talk about like our theories on like what just happened, like what do we think about it, like stuff like that. And I think that's awesome for like waiting a week between shows because it gives you time to process what you watched and think about the possibilities of what's coming.
Yeah.
I guess
You can kind of digest each episode as its own. Whereas a lot of these TV shows that like they just drop a whole fucking season at once, like, not gonna lie. But in most times I see that there's always gonna be like 2 or 3 episodes that I'm like, did that really even need to be in there? But I mean, even if some of the WandaVision episodes are slow, like the earlier ones, each one of them is important in some way. Like it does establish, either bring up more questions, which were pretty much the first 3, like just bringing up lots of questions as to what the F, what's going on, to now it's starting to get more into the, okay, this is what's actually happening, and explaining some of the stuff that's going on. So catching the audience up to what the characters know, and now it's at a point to where the characters and the audience are kind of at the same point of, okay, this is what's happening, but seriously, like, what is Westview? Is Wanda doing this on her own? Like, is Vision really dead? That kind of thing. So, it was honestly a little bit refreshing for me to see, have the characters, or have episode 4 kind of give the characters context as to what everything was. And now, after watching episode 5, it's it feels like instead of us catching up to the characters, everyone's on the same page now as far as the audience and most of the characters. So, it's all we're gonna do now is just start figuring stuff out instead of
right where the story's progressing now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the word I was looking
So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump into episode 5, because 4, I mean, we glossed over it. I mean, there wasn't too much like big information that we learned in 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, episode 5 was quite a episode, I will say.
Yes.
First of all, it was the 80s theme.
Yep.
You guys, if anyone out there listening is into sitcoms, a lot of the influences from this episode were Growing Pains, Family Ties, and Full House.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is very funny that I really thought that was a cool attention to detail, because Full House, if you remember, the Olsen twins were the twins in Full House, and Wanda is an Olsen, so it's literally her sisters. And Wanda and Vision have twins, so it's a very like weird, cool nod
I didn't
to
even think
her
about
sister's
it like that,
old
but
show.
You're completely right.
Yeah. Immediately, as soon as I saw they had twins and a bunch of Full House references, I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool!" Like it like instantly dinged in my head, like, "Oh yeah, her sisters were the sisters in the show."
That's so funny. I didn't even make that connection, but you're absolutely right. You also get to see Vision baby, even though Vision was never a baby. You get to see Vision baby.
I thought I busted out laughing when I saw that on the screen. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh my god.
But I mean, yeah, it makes sense because he never really was a child. He was created as he was, and in this fake reality, they gotta like kind of give some weird context. I guess
like almost like build up like a fake life for him to believe, or so you got to have some Vision baby in there. But I thought that was just absolutely hilarious to see Vision as a baby. let's see. You also, of course, going with the time lapses and everything, keeping up with the family, they get a dog, Sparky,
Yeah, Sparky.
which
Which
was
actually, yeah, I was gonna say, which actually was in the comics. They
oh no
did have a
way.
dog named Sparky, and yeah, it was in this. It was like a Vision, like they're all like Vision
Hmm.
family or something. It was a very in the same vein as this show is, and in a similar fashion in the comics. Whatever her name is, I think his name was
Agnes, I
like
think, if
Agatha
I'm
or
not
something.
mistaken.
The Agnes, yeah, Agnes. It was actually a lot darker, where she actually like beat the shit out of Sparky in the comics, and like tore his like chest open and found one of those like azalea flowers in its stomach.
Oh
Yeah, and it was also like a
goodness.
synthesoid dog in the comics, so it was really weird. But yeah, that was a nice little Easter egg callback to that
Huh.
comic. Yeah.
Wow, that kind of broke me a little bit. That's so dark. I think even
Oh yeah, dude, it's
so, and
crazy.
it of course does the shift, excuse me, time jump throughout the episode. So I think the babies or the twins are still like babies at the beginning, and then at the end of it, they're like 12 years old
Yeah, that was
or something
crazy.
like that. Yeah. So which and it was funny how they did it because usually it's pretty obvious when they do the time jump, but it was a lot more subtle this time around. It would pretty much be like every cutaway they'd be like maybe a couple years older than they were a few
Well,
scenes ago.
the first few cutaways were, and then like one of them, they like just grew in front of them.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, you're right. They did do that.
But we learned a lot about Wanda and her growing up in Sokovia. We learned that Scarlet Witch was actually never used in the MCU. That's why she is actually not called the Scarlet Witch in the MCU yet. So,
At least not
and I
yet.
also thought it was really funny that Darcy referred to like the whole anomaly thing as the hex, which it's named after the hexagonal pattern,
Mm-hmm.
which is also a callback. They I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of like the little time jumps and like portals are hex shaped, so those are very similar. And also because her comic book
Huh.
character is Scarlet Witch, witches cast
Yeah,
hex,
like a
and hex
hex.
is her
Yeah.
power in the comics. So I thought that was like a little, not a very subtle nod, but is a very like, she's probably gonna get her name soon,
Yeah, that's kind
hopefully.
of the vibe I've been getting too. Like, especially since they were straight up like, she doesn't have any weird nicknames. Nope. So it's
Right.
kind of like, oh, okay, so she's about to.
I mean, yeah, it was true. I mean, they never called her Scarlet Witch in
Mm,
any of the
yep.
movies.
So beyond that, sorry, my brain just died and rebooted. Um,
Oh no, you're good. We learn that. Oh yeah, we saw the scene where Wanda storms sword to recover
that's what I was gonna
Vision's
say.
corpse.
Yes. So
Uh,
it technically and I think even in one of the previous episodes, like Vision had walked into the room, and he looked dead for a second, like he looked like a corpse.
yeah, that's right. That was in
So
episode 4. I forgot. So that was in episode 4 where she looked at him and saw his actual what
yeah,
he
like he
actually
even had
looks
like his
like.
forehead all ripped out from when Thanos took the Mind Stone. So she did go and physically take Vision's corpse.
Actually, that was episode 3. I just remembered. Sorry.
Or yeah, no, you're good. I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4 either, but so she has taken Vision's corpse, and I don't know if they confirmed it if he actually was revived, but just the simple fact that she had that like kind of glimpse of him and he was still all messed up looking. I don't know if it's still part of the illusion or not, but he does seem to have a sense of self, like critical thinking, because even he now is Vision is starting to figure out that not everything is what it seems, and that Wanda is up to something and construing reality.
Right, he's starting to like gain conscious back. Like he's not just being a
Yeah.
puppet anymore. And we saw that when he was at his job, when he got that email from Sword, and they were talking about the whole, was it the
Yep, they called it the
Maximoff anomaly?
Maximoff anomaly, and
Yeah, and then he ends up like unbrainwashing one of the people there, and the dude was like terrified, not knowing what's going on. And so something's going on with these people that are like changing how they think and like completely changing their personas.
Because as soon as he started interrogating him, he was like, he was a different person. And then when he snapped back, it was almost like he just went back into character and was like, ugh. Like he just said some like offlandish like remark, like not pretending like he didn't even realize that he just remembered who he was for a split 2 minutes. So it's and he even confronts her when he comes back and is like, Wanda, what's going on? And she just kind of plays it off and like throws to the side, like, you really think I'm doing all this? And then she starts to roll the credits to the show, actually, and then her and Vision still continue to fight and argue, and then my boy Vision steps up and says, no, Wanda, enough is enough. And I thought they were going to get into like a little superhero boss fight there for a second, because they both started levitating off the ground and shit. So he's definitely like up to par with not everything is what it is. But I think another question is too, because Wanda said that she didn't intentionally do it, like as far as this taking over Westview type scenario on purpose. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but she's definitely, I mean, it's because I think a lot of what you and me were speculating at the beginning of the series was if it's Wanda doing this, if it's someone else. So it's clear,
right? I mean, we definitely know Wanda has some hand in it. I'm still of the belief that she's not 100% behind all of this. I don't think. Okay, so I think that I keep forgetting the witch's name. What was her name?
Agnes.
Not the other girl. The one that's Agnes. So we know she's obviously in on it. And her character in the comics, Agnes, Wanda actually goes to her to help like increase, like amplify her like witch factor powers, or I don't know what they're called actually, but her powers. So I'm of the belief that maybe Wanda went to her to increase how her powers, or I'm saying this wrong, but just make her powers better. I'm terrible at English tonight. Like, holy shit.
Like make her more powerful or help her keep control.
Yes. I couldn't think of that for some reason. Yeah. So, and that we see that when she steps out of the city for a second and confronts Sword, and when she goes back in there, she throws that red force field back up around the city. So you see like her power. She's never been able to do that to that extent, and now we see she's gotten more powerful, obviously. But I'm still on of the mind that I think there's still a third or fourth party that is kind of in the mix here. And I think it's Mephisto, because I think that this would be the perfect way to introduce him as a new villain focal point.
See that.
I could be wrong. Definitely could be wrong. It's just speculation. But I definitely still think that while Wanda definitely wants this, she wants this life with Vision to have like kids and just be normal. I don't think she wants to be putting all these people in pain, like Vision was saying, that like these people don't want to be here. You're kind of forcing them against their will and all this stuff. Like, this is not what he would want for these people either. So that's my 2 cents on if it's actually Wanda or not. I still am of the belief, but I could be wrong. Next episode, she could just be a villain now.
Yeah. See, and I agree with you. It would really be out of her character to, like, just what so far has been established in the MCU.
Yeah, with everything that has happened
against their will, but she did just lose the love of her life. Watched a lot of other people get their family members and friends back, while she didn't. So, and at the
Right.
same time, I mean, imagine having the corpse of like your significant other being held up in like a testing facility or something like that. So I think that she is definitely consciously responsible for a lot of it. Like just not that she's doing it like to be evil, but more so like out of grief than anything. And I think now that like people, or not people, but Vision is starting to catch on. I think that that's going to bring an interesting kind of confrontation, not only with her and Vision, but also just her with herself on what she's actually doing. Because I don't think she, from just my guess, stipulation, I don't think she realized like you said, I don't think she realized the extent of like how harmful she was doing it, or the harm that she was causing while she was doing it. But now that Sword's on her ass and Vision is like, what the f?
Right.
Because even Vision was telling her, I don't know anything like about my life. Like I don't know who I am. So he doesn't even remember Thanos or how he came into being, or so like Ultron, like any of that. He's not aware of any of it. So, and that could be a part of Max or of Wanda's trick, or her little hex, haha. Or if it's part of him having the Mind Stone ripped out of his head and him just not remembering anything before that until Wanda, quote unquote, revived him. And I say quote unquote because I have a strong suspicion that if Vision ever leaves this constructed reality, he would go back to just being a lifeless corpse. But that's just a guess of mine. I don't have anything to back that up.
So, in I think it was Age of Ultron, one of the Avengers movies,
Mm-hmm.
I think they stated that, or Vision stated that he actually didn't need the Mind Stone to survive. And in the comics, there is actually a character called the Grim Reaper who revives dead people, and I don't remember the exact which episode exactly, but the one episode where the beginning of the WandaVision episode where it kind of looked like the nanny intro where Vision was kind of like falling
Yeah.
down through the house and everything. There was a shot of the Grim Reaper from the comics. His helmet was like
Huh.
briefly mentioned there for like a second, so that kind of leads me to believe that Wanda maybe made a deal with him to help revive, or he just revived
Interesting.
her for like some kind of cost or something like that. So I think that's how Vision came back personally. I definitely could be wrong, and that could just definitely be like an Easter egg. Um,
That is interesting.
Either that or Agnes, something to do with Agnes. She might have helped Wanda resurrect him.
Yeah.
Like maybe that was why she sought out Agnes, was to gain more power to resurrect Vision.
And out of everyone, it does seem that Agnes is more so the one that isn't stuck in a character. She just kind of almost pretends for Wanda and knows what's going on. Yeah.
Oh no, she definitely knows what's
So,
going on.
yeah, interesting. That's a good point.
But I found it interesting that she knows what's going on, but Wanda sometimes seems like she does, and sometimes seems like she doesn't. Like she almost maybe wiped her own memory. But that also goes back to my previous theory about there being another party
Yeah.
involved
No, you're right.
that maybe she doesn't even
You're
know
right, because
about.
Wanda definitely kind of does go in and out of character for a minute. Because even like when she went out to go and confront, I almost said Oni, Sword. She's back to speaking in her Sokovian, like Eastern European accent. But then when she goes back inside, it's her classic American
Right.
accent again. So, but yeah, it's even. Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that, because even in the earlier episodes, Wanda's kind of like, "What's going on?" And even though she has some control, it's almost like there are lots of things that either it's very possible that she just wiped her mind to kind of make it easier on herself. But yeah, that would be interesting if like Agnes or someone else is pulling some strings and kind of contributing to this constructed reality that they find themselves in.
Right. And let's talk about the commercial. So this week's commercial, or the episode 5 commercial, was the Lagos brand paper towels. The slogan, I actually wrote this down because it was very clever. Is for when you make a mess you didn't mean to. So if you don't know the reference, every commercial in WandaVision so far has been a reference to something that's happened in Wanda's past that she's either like been upset about, or like some deep trauma. So Lagos was actually the place in the beginning, the opening scene of Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Where she used her powers to stop the bomb from exploding, but it ended up
and it
hitting
killed like
the
a whole bunch
embassy.
of people, including that one. There's like a student from.
No, that student, that was from Sokovia.
I mean, he's not important.
Yeah, that was different. Yeah. No, I think she
Yep,
basically
right.
inadvertently killed
Okay.
not T'Challa, T'Chang. I don't want to say T'Chanka.
No, I think that was the Winter Soldier that.
Oh yeah,
T'Challa's
that's right.
dad.
That's right.
But I think those events led up to that like accord, the Sokovia Accords
Right.
thing
Okay,
that he
so
was
see,
attending,
I'm mixing up
I mean,
my shit.
Yeah, it's been a while. So much shit happens, but no, I mean you're right though with it, because I was wondering what Lagos was, because I was like, that sounds so familiar. But no, you're absolutely right. That was the city that her, Captain America, Black Widow, and the Falcon were at hunting down Crossbones, I think.
Yes.
And he tried to suicide bomb himself once they caught him, and she threw him up into a building to try and take the blast away from like the people on the streets, and it ended up killing a whole bunch of people in the office spaces, and one of which was like you said, a Zakovian student, he was like a perfect angel kid, like he was working like on some project or working with some charity or something.
No. I mean that he was killed in Sokovia in Age of Ultron.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, because she said you dropped a building on him to Iron Man, so that was directly referencing the whole when
gotcha.
Sokovia
Okay.
fell.
I was okay.
You know,
Okay,
the whole battle with
gotcha,
Ultron.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
Completely different. No, you're good. See, some people could have didn't know that either and got that mixed up. So, more information. Also, there's been a reoccurring theme with these commercials, if you've not noticed. The Lagos ad, we saw the liquid that spilled was red. It was liquid. So that's a nod to the reality stone, which is very, I don't want to say ubiquitous in its shape. And the other, the other little, I can't speak tonight, man.
Time stone. Yeah.
The other commercials, we saw the toaster, which was like the power stone, the watch, which is the time stone, the bath powder was like a box shaped like the tesseract, which is the space stone.
I didn't think about.
So we have 2 more stones to go, which means we have like 2 more commercials to see, which is interesting. I thought it was really nice. I just wanted to point it out.
Those connections. That is interesting. That is really weird.
I noticed that as soon as I saw it was like the Hydra watch, so I was like, wait a minute. So they talked about something and it looked blue and it was a square. I was like, that kind of looks like the Tesseract. And then they talked about time and I was
connecting
like,
the dots. Yeah,
interesting. And as soon as I saw the Lagos ad and it was a red liquid, I was like, boom, that's supposed to be the Reality Stone, man. That's some kind of subtle nod to the Infinity Stones. And maybe, I was actually talking to my friend earlier, like the other day. His theory, and I'll bring this up very briefly, his theory is that they're actually using Wanda, since she was experimented on with the Mind Stone to enhance her powers. They're trying to use her to recreate the stones.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Yeah, because she did get the powers from that. Her brother Pietro did both. So
Well, okay, I don't think they got their powers from the stone. I think their powers were amplified. I'm not sure if I'm
Yeah.
100% correct on that or not.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Someone let me know in the comments. But I think they were just expanded upon.
Either, I mean, I guess a good way to say it would be
with the Mind Stone.
You know, Wanda and Pietro Maximoff before the Mind Stone were pretty semi-normal, if not tame, compared to. I mean, they pretty much turned them into the behemoths of. I mean, technically, in Marvel
metahumans.
Comics, yeah, metahumans. Because
I mean, technically, they're supposed to be mutants, but Fox wasn't acquired yet, so mutants weren't a thing in the MCU. But now that it is, they could just retcon the whole their whole backstory now, and make them mutants with X-Men being almost back in the MCU, which segues perfectly into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was really cool. So we talked about Wanda coming out to confront all the sword agents, and that scene looked almost exactly like that scene, if you remember, from the first X-Men movie when the police tried to take down Magneto
against them.
If you remember that, he turned their weapons against themselves like she did, and I was like, that is a great nod.
I mean, I remember that scene, but I completely forgot about the scene in X-Men too when Magneto pulls that shit. But yeah, that's funny. Fucking. What about the reunification?
Oh, that okay. So I had
I was assuming you were about
really
to bring
quickly.
up
I got distracted. Yeah. So really quickly, this is a very brief thing I wanted to mention before the huge thing that happened at the end of episode 5. So Monica mentioned that she has a particular aerospace engineer in mind to call for help. And it seems like this could be a Reed Richards Easter egg callback. So this might also be a way for Marvel to somehow bring the Fantastic Four back into the fold. Not 100%. It's definitely just a theory, but it would definitely be really fucking crazy if not only are they bringing the mutants and X-Men with WandaVision tied into this whole multiverse trilogy, but also the Fantastic Four.
That would be cool, especially since the whole Fox merger and everything, and the last Fantastic Four movie sucked. In fact, really, I thought both of the Fantastic Four movies sucked to an extent, but
honestly, I'm of the mind that I think all 3 or 4 of those Fantastic movies, I didn't really like any of them.
Yeah, they were pretty butt.
They were not that
ass
great.
Cheeks.
But it's the main event. Yes. The ending of episode 5 definitely freaked me the fuck out, because I would sat there and I was like, holy shit, they actually did it. Freaking Evan Peters came back as Quicksilver, and if you don't know, and if you've been living under a rock, and I don't know why you'd be watching this if you don't know any of the MCU or Marvel movies, Evan Peters played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies, not the MCU. That was
James McAvoy. He was with the Fox.
Yeah, those X-Men movies.
They already kind of had their own Days of Future Past and mixing with time and all whatnot. So,
Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's who played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
He was only in that movie because obviously he died at the end by Ultron. But
so I definitely think it was really funny that Darcy said she recast Pietro, and I was like, oh, that is such a weird but funny fourth wall kind of question. Because technically, yes, it's basically a recast if you think about it. But at the same time, it's also this could lead, like I said before, into the whole multiverse thing, man. I have a couple of theories on what's going on with Quicksilver. I don't know what you got first. I got a couple long-winded ones though.
I mean, I'm really flabbergasted. I can't really think of anything in the MCU that would explain why it's now Evan Peters. But I will say, if you. So I did actually enjoy, not all of them, but some of the. Well, so the X Men 1 and 2, like the early 2000 ones with Hugh Jackman, um, I enjoyed those. And those share the same continuity with the X Men movies that also have Jennifer Lawrence and Evan Peters.
What's that? Yeah, technically they're all
Yeah.
connected if you think about Days
And
of
that's what I
Future
was going to say.
Past.
So there were, and I don't remember the specifics, but I mean, obviously, there was a big, the whole plot of that movie was them going back in time and forward in time via Wolverine to, you know, keep some shit from happening. I think it was from keeping the Sentinels from being invented so they wouldn't hunt down mutants and all that shit. So the only thing I could think of is that them going back and
Pretty
changing
much.
stuff could have altered time in such a way that it created the MCU. So
I don't know. That might be too much of a stretch, though, considering we had Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix after Days of Future Past.
yeah, that is true. I didn't think about that, but yeah,
Personally, all right, go ahead. I'll wait a
Oh
second.
no, I was just gonna say too, just with all the manipulations of the Infinity Stones plus the stuff that was going on in the Fox Marvel universe, I don't know if that could have affected anything, but that's just kind of where my mind started to go to, as far as like how the hell. Because I mean, if you think about it, even in the Fox universe, it was during the '70s, like '60s or '70s, when the Evan Peters Quicksilver was introduced.
Technically, Dark Phoenix was in the 90s, and that was the last one that we
Okay,
had.
so he was still.
Because I also had that same theory. I was like, wait a minute, those ended like around the 80s to 70s, so it would kind of make sense for him to be in the 80s and 70s sitcom. But then someone came and told me, they're like, no, if you saw Dark Phoenix, which I only saw once, and that was one of the worst decisions, but
Okay.
Dark Phoenix technically took place in the 90s, so that kind of put that whole theory to kaput. One of my theories, I think it is, first theory I got is this Evan Peters is Quicksilver. He's from that whole timeline of the Fox X-Men, right? I think he pulled a Barry Allen and ran so fast that he broke the dimensional barrier. And he ended up in the MCU universe, but maybe he was trying to find his sister or something and then ended up in Westview and then got, corrupted or taken over by whoever. Or maybe it is her or something, He got brainwashed as well, so
Yeah.
he doesn't know what's going on. That's really my first theory, is he just
Yeah.
kind of ran really fast and appeared. Because they did that in the DC, so why can't they do it in Marvel,
Yeah, that's true. Another interesting thing that I just thought about too was, so in the MCU it was Pietro, was his name, which is like which is like the Russian or like Sokovian translation of like Peter. But in the X-Men universe, he was just Peter Maximoff. Yet when Scarlet calls him Pietro, and obviously it's almost like she recognizes him as Pietro, she calls him Pietro, and he's like, "Yeah, it's me, Pietro." So
I don't know. Personally, I think she didn't think it was
you don't
her
think
brother
she
at first.
recognized? Yeah, I might have to rewatch her like reaction to him, but it almost seemed like she was just in disbelief of like that it was actually him, considering that he was dead. But I don't know. That was another thing that I just thought of, because she definitely called him Pietro, instead of Peter, which is what Evan Peters. Quicksilver was being called instead of Pietro. So I don't know, man. There's a whole lot of shit that
I think Peter is just a nickname for Pietro. So I think his character was still named Pietro in the
Okay,
X-Men
you might
movies.
be right about that.
I'm not
I just know
100%
like
though.
because with some languages and some like countries like they'll have different like not pronunciations but different ways of saying like Peter or like John or whatever. So I don't know. That was just something else that popped in my head that to me I feel like I would want an answer for, but obviously it's a fucking. I mean, they're both the same name, technically, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But, I mean, yeah, I have no idea how the fuck they're going to explain this. But it is cool to see that they're actually merging the Fox universe and the MCU. Because, I mean,
Yeah, we're starting to see it now.
Yeah, so, and, that also brings into question, are we going maybe not in WandaVision, that would be hoping for too much, but maybe in the future shows, future movies.
Well, so WandaVision is part of a trilogy. It's part of the multiverse trilogy. So this series is supposed to connect directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and as well as the upcoming Spider-Man 3 movie. This is this multiverse trilogy because Spider-Man 3, if you don't know or haven't heard, is going to feature the other Spider-Man and characters from the other show, the other movies that came out besides Tom Holland's.
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know who's exactly 100% confirmed to come back because I think a lot of it was just leaked and not like, statements given by Disney that they're definitely on board with this. So take some of that stuff about Spider-Man 3 with a very low pinch of grain of salt. But I wanted to say really quickly that my other theory was that because Agnes trained Wanda to make her more powerful with her powers, that she just somehow maybe unwittingly, unwittingly. She didn't know. She accidentally ripped a hole in the multiverse.
Like in the time-space continuum.
And somehow her brother came through. It's a very loose theory, but it was just like, maybe she accidentally just kind of brought him over. Maybe he wasn't supposed to be here yet or something.
That wouldn't be any less crazy than anything else that's going on in the show, to be fair. So
True. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
It's just, they have been pretty clever with explaining things so far. So I don't have...
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they have some clever explanation to tie in all of their reacquired Marvel franchises.
Yep. So... That is interesting, though, because I kind of want to see if they'll bring the James McAvoy Professor X or Magneto into
I hope so. It's such a great cast, and they don't need to recast
No, they really
anybody.
Don't. Even though the Logan was supposed to be the last Wolverine movie, a little part of
it's inevitable. I think we're gonna get a Wolverine recast. I don't think Hugh Jackman's gonna come back unless there's a shit ton of money involved.
Jackman is Wolverine. It would be so hard. Yeah.
I agree. I 100% agree that Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, but he's old, and he said he doesn't want to do all the stupid training regimen and dieting anymore to stay in shape to be Wolverine. So I definitely think a Wolverine recast is coming soon. If not, maybe it won't ever happen, but I highly doubt now that Marvel has acquired Fox and the X-Men back that they're not going to capitalize and make bank
and he is
on
technically
a Wolverine
dead too, so
cameo or movie or
he died.
Well, no. I mean, that was in the future.
Oh, yeah, fair.
That was the future.
Fair. There's also X-23.
It was way in the future. Yeah, that's true. They could actually. Yeah, that would be good. Instead of bringing Wolverine and it's just X-23. I think I wouldn't mind that actually.
She was a fucking badass.
Okay. I mean, because we know Deadpool. There's going to be a Deadpool 3, and that's officially MCU Deadpool 3, and it's going to be rated R, and it's going to be a Disney rated R Deadpool movie that's part of the MCU.
I didn't know it was rated R.
So I think that movie is also going to be another foothill to bridge the X-Men into Marvel again.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, I didn't know it was rated R. I knew it was coming, but that's funny. That's funny as shit. I can't wait for that. That's gonna be awesome. I love Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Oh yeah, dude, it was one of the most perfect castings that I think they ever did. And ever since that test footage was released in like what was it, like 2014 or something? Yeah. That came out so long ago. I remember getting so hyped when I saw that test footage. I was like, "Oh, they're making a Deadpool movie finally!" And it looked animated. I was like, "Yo, this is so cool!" And it sounded like Ryan Reynolds. And I was like, "Oh, I could see Ryan Reynolds being Deadpool, honestly." And then nothing got done for like 2 years or so.
I think that footage that everyone saw, that was like...
That was leaked, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was leaked. It was definitely something that was shown to a bunch of producers or something like that to see if they would greenlight the project. And I think it might have been purposefully, so not like leaked as in like someone took it and like put it online for like against anyone's wishes. I think it was like one of those, even though that they'll probably never admit it, it was like one of those purpose leaks to see if people would get hyped for it or not. And I think after...
Yeah, but why would they wait 2 years after dropping like a little teaser like that, you know, without any context or information?
Just production. And I mean, I wouldn't be... It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't know what the F they were going to do, like as far as story. Because I think even that... True. Because what they did, that wasn't even originally supposed to be part of the movie. It was just supposed to be a little snippet of like, this is what the movie can be. And then they just, because it got such a huge positive reaction, they just ended up including it in the movie anyway. But like that one little scene anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. That's just, I mean, like you said, that was oh my god, that was 7 years ago now. So yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Yup. But getting a little off track. That WandaVision. But yeah, that ending of the episode was pretty crazy. I don't know. That's pretty much all I have to say about. I'm excited. I mean, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do this upcoming week because currently we're recording this on Wednesday the 10th.
Early in the morning.
So this will probably be up yeah, this will probably be up either Thursday night or the day when the new episode comes out. But we have like a couple days until the new episode, and I'm excited to see how they explain what the fuck Evan Peters as Quicksilver is doing here. Like I'm so excited to see what they do, and if this is gonna be, because they keep teasing House of M.
Yeah.
House of M has to do with mutants, so this has to be some kind of bridge to bring the mutant. Either it's a whole different universe or something, because it wouldn't make sense for them to already exist in the MCU. Because where the fuck were they when Thanos happened? Where the fuck were they when Sokovia happened or New York happened? So it's just like they have to be in a different universe or dimension. And maybe the Thanos snap like altered the realities, so now they're part of ours or something, or like I don't know. I don't know. I have way too many fucking theories.
I mean,
I could go on.
Yeah. Well, that would make a lot of sense, and that's why I kind of think I go back to the Thanos snap as well, because I mean, first off, in the MCU, nothing in the universe has ever experienced anything like that before.
Right.
And when you have stones altering time and reality and, you know, yada yada yada, I feel like that is probably going to be their go-to for explaining all of this crazy wacky shit that's now happening, like the Fox merger and all these new characters coming in. But also, I mean, it could also just be that a lot of these, you know, quote-unquote mutants, you know, they just weren't, even though I feel like this would be pretty cheap, they just weren't discovered up until now. So, like, and, you know, when you were talking about Wolverine being recast, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see a lot of those origin stories, like, for a lot of those characters start up again.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't
had
either.
Enough origin
but-
stories, man. Just like I think Spider-Man: Homecoming did this really well, where they gave us like a very brief. Like, we pretty much know Spider-Man's origin by now. We've had 3 different goddamn trilogies to know. Uncle Ben dies. He get, more power, more responsibility, blah, 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 blah. Like, we want into the action. We want them to be already pretty much almost established as their comic book character.
Yeah.
Like, we're just tired of origin stories. We've had enough. We don't need to see Uncle Ben die for a 4th time, which I'm glad we didn't get. But we don't need to see, Wolverine being experimented on again. We already got a great Wolverine. I think if they go to the X-23 route, that is perfect for them, because that is a great cop-out for them not having to recast Hugh Jackman.
No.
Because no one can top him
Wolverine.
as Wolverine at this point. Like, who?
Yeah, he is Wolverine.
Who's going to be
I don't
Wolverine?
think anybody could match just his pure rage that he's able...
I mean, they barely got away with recasting Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, just because James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender are brilliant actors and pretty much portrayed a younger version of those other actors so well that they sold it that well.
I don't know.
So I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows what the future shall hold this Friday?
Yeah, I am excited, though, because the last thing I was expecting out of WandaVision was something out of the Fox merger, but, I mean, shit. So I'm
right.
Officially, this went from being like a cool little, I wonder what's happening in the MCU, to what the fuck is the MCU going to do next kind of attitude. So and it's great. I love when a show does that, when it gets you like, whoa, what's gonna happen next? Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
So kudos to Marvel so far on WandaVision. Like, it was a slow start at first, episode 1 to 3, very slow building, and that's fine, because I think the show did need some world building, and it was taking a step out of the norm of what we're used to for superhero type shows and movies. So I think it was, looking back retrospectively, I think it was a good step in the right direction. But yeah, so episode 6 is going to come out this Friday. It's going to be kind of crazy. We'll have that. Do you think, what do you want to do? Do you want to do episode 6 by itself? Maybe depending on how crazy it is.
Maybe let's see what happens. Because I feel like it was kind of better for us not to do episode 4 as one thing, because it was pretty much just
agree.
Like a
that would have been
recap.
a very short episode.
Yeah. Hey, so they figured out what was happening, and they sit in a helicopter, and they talk through the radio, and that's it. See you next week.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, so I guess depending on how episode 6 goes, there might be another episode next week, if not the week after that. Honestly, as we're recording this, I don't know when another H.H.A. main podcast episode would go up, because I would love to plug that.
Oh, yeah.
But we definitely need to assemble sometime. But, yeah. Definitely didn't make a pun there on purpose. But, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening in to 2 nerds talk about a stupid Marvel show for about an hour again.
Yeah. Man. That shit blew my mind. I don't even know what to fucking say now, because that shit, I'm still...
Yeah, like and subscribe, check us out, I'm gonna shell us out this last seconds. If you're still here, like the video, subscribe to the channel,
drop a comment. Let us know
if
we're doing a good job. Let us know if you have any thoughts. What are your theories? What do you think is going on? If you're right, I'll give you a shout out. I might even
you get an internet cookie.
You'll get we're doing a giveaway for free internet cookies. Just reply to the comment with your mom's credit card number, and whoever has the most the highest credit limit wins, and we'll send you an internet cookie.
Okay. Well, that's it from us at H.H.A. Extra Credit.
Yep.
It's been Diabolic Hollow.
And Mac Tier in the flesh.
And we'll see you guys in the next installment. Later.
See ya.